Introduction selanjutnya dalam bentuk bahasa Inggris. Ladies and gentlemen, in the second session, we have Dr. Madhavi Mapuskar, BDS, and Clinton, and she will talk about how semi-adjustable articulators improve the clinical outcome. She is a master in clinical dentistry, prosthodontic from University of London. Also, we would like to thank BioArt as a principal, Meditrust and POC as a BioArt distributor in Indonesia. We have brought Dr. Madhavi here. And also, today's lecture will be moderated by Dr. Gigi Dimas Aditya Ari, Magister Kesehatan. I would like to introduce about Dr. Dimas a little bit. Okay, Dr. Dimas is one of the staff in prosthodontic department, Universitas Airlangga. He became a dentist since 2014 and got a master's degree in dental health science in 2019. Now he is currently taking prosthodontic specialist study program at Universitas Airlangga. He has lots of published articles, also research and development project experience. He was awarded as a first winner in case report presentation last year. Good morning, Dr. Dimas.
Okay, sorry, Dr. Anna, good morning.
Okay, hello, Dr. Dimas, please take your time.
Hi, Doc. Yeah, thank you, Dr. Ratna, for the nice introduction and the time. Good morning, the Dean and Vice Dean of Universitas Airlangga, as well as Universitas Hasanuddin, all of the professors, lecturers, and also participants. In this session, we will hear the presentation with the topic of how semi-adjustable articulators improve the clinical outcome. First of all, let me say hello to Dr. Madhavi Mapuskar. Hi, Doc.
Hello.
How are you there, Doc?
Yes, I am fine. Thank you. Extend a very warm welcome to all of you.
Okay, hope all of us. Yeah. Hope all of us have a good condition, Doc. Okay, before we start this section, let me read the speaker's curriculum vitae. Dr. Madhavi Mapuskar, PDS, and Clinton is the first Indian graduate of the Master Clinical Dentistry in the field of prosthodontics in flexible learning program conducted by King's College London. She graduated with a merit in prosthodontics. She has been awarded visiting lecturership at King's College London and the only Indian to be offered this position. She is also a marking tutor for the Master of Science in Aesthetic Dentistry program in King's College London. She has also been a postgraduate tutor for the Master Clinical Dentistry External program conducted by King's College London at SDM Dental College, Dharwad. She has conducted several courses and also presentations in various cities in India and also international, and also part of a multi-specialty private practice in Pune. She is a renowned speaker at various dental conferences and has several presentations and also publications. She has also completed several international implant certification courses from Frankfurt, Landsberg, and Bologna. So, the audience, let's prepare your note for the next topic from Dr. Madhavi Mapuskar. If you have any question, you can type in the chat room and I'll read your question to the speakers in the discussion section. Okay, Dr. Madhavi Mapuskar, you have around an hour for this topic. Time is yours, Doc.
Thank you. I'd like to extend a very warm welcome to all of you. And just give me a moment till I share my screen. Thank you, BioArt, for organizing this webinar. And thank you for the kind introduction. So let's start with our topic for today, which articulators, and that's just a short introduction about myself and where I practice in Pune. any of you happen to be visiting India or Pune, you're most welcome to visit me at the practice. We now also have an in-house CAT cam. And that is my entire team. I have been conducting hands-on workshops for full mouth rehab and semi-conductive since 2005. And so let's start with our webinar for today. Now, any patient, when they come to us for like a rehabilitation, there are two treatment outcomes that we really desire. One is aesthetic harmony, and the other, and also more important, is the functional harmony. If you give an aesthetic results to a patient which does not last for a very long period of time, patient is not really going to be very happy with the outcome, which lasts for a very short period of time. So longevity is important. In order to consider longevity, we must look at all the occlusal principles and also how we can check for static as well as excursive loads on those restorations. And for that, semi-adjustable articulators, let me show you how they could be useful. So what we look at in today's presentation really would be the rationale for use of semi-adjustable articulators, the technique of phase-bore transfer, and what really the phase-bore transfer does for us. Also the occlusal records which would be needed and how you would articulate those models. Also, we will be looking at two popular models, which is the BioArt A7 Plus and the A7 Fix articulators. I have been using these articulators in my postgraduate at Emplendent, and ever since in my practice since 2002. So let's see in which cases really semi-adjustable articulators could be useful. If you have, say, a case with multiple restorations, which you see like this, definitely you would like to check the static as well as excursive contacts on the articulator prior to placing the restorations in the mouth. So you have very less occlusal adjustments to be done in the mouth. Also increasing the vertical dimension of occlusion. If you need to be changing the vertical dimension of occlusion, semi-adjustable articulators allow you to record the distance of the condyle to the arch. So I'll show you how this could be useful when you try to increase the vertical dimension of occlusion by using a semi-adjustable articulator. Next is balanced articulation. So if you're having like complete dentures, you need to be giving balanced articulation where there is not only in static, also in protrusive, like you see here, or in excursive, you have simultaneous even contacts. You would need to have an articulator which gives you that. Again, like a full mouth rehab, excursives should be checked prior to trying them in the patient's mouth. When you're changing or when you're copying an anterior guidance for a patient, it could be useful. Also, you have to assess the forces, so you avoid failure. So avoid failure by assessing the forces. A semi-adjustable could be useful. Now, if you have a look at this, this is a scenario which I'd like to just explain to you. Sometimes after you've placed a posterior crown, patient comes back with either a failed anterior restoration or he says he feels a little pressure in the front of the mouth. Now, sometimes even the dentist or the patient overlooks the fact it may be because of a posterior high restoration. So let's see what a posterior high restoration can do. That means it's fine and intercuspal, but it has an interference in the crown posteriorly. So once you have an interference in the crown posteriorly, what could actually happen is your anterior crown could either fail because now you have a deflective contact. You're having a deflective contact, which was not happening earlier. So this crown is now having excessive load, right? Another sequelae is when you look at this picture below, you see this second molar which has been prepared. Have any of you encountered a situation where you've prepared the crown and then when you ask the patient to close, you find that the occlusal space is either reduced or the occlusal space is missing? After you have done 1 millimeter of preparation using your depth cuts, you realize that the preparation you have done is no longer there. Now, to assess this, you should check for occlusal interferences prior to starting the preparation. And again, for assessing occlusal interferences, a semi-adjustable articulator would be very, very useful. Many people do not use this because learning a new technique, really, you have to come out of your comfort zone. And many people try and resist the temptation. No, I really don't want to be doing that, because they think that sometimes using an articulator would be, one, is more time consuming, and second is it's more complicated. Now you will see in today's presentation how I will show you that it's actually very, very simple, and the time taken really to do a face bow and articulating it is very, very short. The time you will spend grinding your restorations when you haven't taken enough records will be much more than the time you spend in really doing a face bow transfer and articulation. Okay. So what I would suggest to you is do it step by step, and you will have a very desirable outcome towards the end. So the first step is a webinar that you have attended here. The next step would be really to get yourself to do a really hands-on good program so that you're able to learn the technique well. And the third is implementing it yourself. So keep a goal and work towards it. It's not really very complicated. So let's look at how semi-adjustable articulators have a benefit over the hinge articulator. Right? When you have a look at the semi-adjustable articulator, you will see this distance on the semi-adjustable articulator is similar to what you're having really in the patient. Also, semi-adjustable articulators give you protrusive and excursive, which is not available on the hinge. Assessment of occlusal interferences, again, is much more easily done on a semi-adjustable articulator. Right? So just have a look at how your normal hinge articulator functions. If you have a look at the hinge articulator, you have an articulator hinge axis, which is much closer to the teeth than your mandibular hinge axis. Okay, your articulator hinge axis to the teeth is much closer than the mandibular hinge axis to the teeth. So the arc of closure when you're using an articulator with a hinge axis is a very steep arc of closure. Also excursives, when you consider, so you're having a distance which is much shorter on a hinge articulator. The arc of closure is shorter. So when you have a small error in vertical magnitude in a crown, it's much more magnified in the mouth because the arc of closure is not the same like the patient. The second is excursive. When you consider excursive movement, actually what is happening when you have excursive movement is in the mandible, you have rotation and you have translation on the non-working side. So the side towards which the mandible moves is only rotating and the other side is translating. On the hinge articulator, and it's similar what is happening on the semi-adjustable. On the hinge articulator, there are some hinge articulators which allow you for excursive movements, but really it's happening from the center. So when you have a look at excursive, it's not really happening like rotation and translation. You're toggling it from the center, the hinge articulator. So the excursive path really is not the same as you would have on a semi-adjustable articulator, right? Because it is getting toggled from here, this exertion is different from the exertion. So again, your adjustments would differ. So that is the advantage of having a recording on a hinge articulator when you're having larger cases. So let's look at some of the features of the semi-adjustable articulators. These are the two popular articulators, the A7 Plus and the A7 Fix from BioArt. What you have is magnetic mounting plates. This is very, very nice to have. Because of the magnetic mounting plates, you're very easily able to disassemble Okay, so what you saw in the video is these magnetic mounting plates. These magnetic mounting plates are very, very good because you don't have screws on them. So removal from the articulator is very fast and convenient. Again, on a semi-adjustable, you would have multiple cases going the same time on the same articulator, unlike the hinge, which you attach it to the lower member of the articulator. This allows a 180-degree opening. When you open the articulator completely, what you also have is you have a stop on the articulator, so the lower member, the upper member just does not drop down. There is a central lock here. Because of the central locking system, you can, if you want to disengage, you can, when you open the lock, you can disengage the upper member completely. As you see here, you have this rail mounting plate. So removal from the articulator is also very, very easy. So these articulators are very user friendly. They have a wide viewing axis. So a very easy view is seen. And they have a 110 millimeter fixed intercondylar width. The A7 Plus has an adjustable condylar guide angle. So you're able to change the horizontal condylar guidance and you're able to change the Bennett angle. That is the difference between the A7 Plus and the Fix. In the Fix, the condylar guidance is fixed. The horizontal condylar guidance is fixed at 30 degrees and the Bennett angle is fixed at 15 degrees. The A7 Plus allows you to alter the condylar guidance angle. Okay, and adjustment of Bennett angles is also possible. So it also has the stabilization sleeves. So because of the stabilization sleeve, it is in contact with the articulator when the movement occurs. Okay. The A7 Fix, again, it has a fixed intercondylar width of 110 millimeters. When you open it, again, there is a stop. So the upper member does not collapse. Then you have a central lock in this, which allows removal of the upper member. The central lock is just by pulling it out, and you have a fixed condylar width of 30 degrees and a fixed Bennett angle of 15 degrees on the A7 Fix. It has a magnetic stabilization system. So it keeps it in contact when the excursives are happening. The A7 Fix has a silicone sleeve for stabilization. The A7 Plus has a silicone sleeve for stabilization, and the A7 Fix has a magnetic stabilization system. Okay, so why would you do a Phasgo registration? A Phasgo registration actually allows registration of this distance from the ear plug to the occlusal fork. Okay, so this distance is registered with the help of a Phasgo, and you could take the third point of reference as the Frankfurt plane or as the campus plane would be your third point of reference. Okay, so let's look at some of the landmarks so you know what is the Frankfurt plane and what is the campus plane. So from the external auditory meatus to the infraorbital, right? This is the Frankfurt plane. If you have a look at the Frankfurt plane, you see the Frankfurt to the occlusal, you will have a small amount of an angle, okay, a 20 to 30 degree angle from the Frankfurt plane to the occlusal plane. And the campus plane is from the external auditory meatus to the infraorbital. So that campus plane is more or less parallel to your occlusal plane. Because it is parallel, when you're doing aesthetic cases, it's more better that you use a campus plane transfer. I'll show you how it would make a difference in the next one. So your occlusal plane is more parallel to the campus plane, if you see here. And the Frankfurt plane is from your infraorbital to the external auditory meatus. In the phase 4 transfer, when you have this glabella or the nasion pointer, that will allow you to align the phase 4 arms with the infraorbital or the Frankfurt plane, as you see here. Okay, so we have the elite phase 4 in the BioArt. Let's see how the phase 4 registration is done. One is the animated version and one is on the patient itself. Yes. For the phase 4 registration, what you have is first is the occlusal fork, which is placed in. The occlusal fork will allow the occlusal indentations to be taken. You can have the indentations made in either, you could use green stick, which is impression compound low fusing, or you could use bite registration addition silicone for this registration on the occlusal fork. Once the occlusal fork registration is done, then you have this phase 4 arms with the forehead pointer and with the transfer jig, which you will carry to the patient. And the earplugs are placed into the external auditory meatus. And the phase 4 arms are aligned with the Frankfurt plane as you position the forehead pointer. Okay. The transfer jig is attached to the occlusal fork and your phase 4 registration is done. Very simple. The elite phase 4 has the advantage of doing both the horizontal and the vertical together. So you just need to tighten the clutch and your phase 4 registration is done. Once that is done, you could transfer it to a transfer jig and this transfer is then transferred to the articulator. So what you have done with the help of the phase 4 is really the distance of the occlusal arch to the condyle has been recorded with the help of a phase 4 transfer. Right? Once the maxillary cast is mounted, you will then go ahead with the mandibular cast. Okay, this is transferred to the articulator. There is an occlusal fork support kept, so the occlusal fork doesn't collapse. Once the maxillary cast is placed on it and mounted, you have recorded the distance of the condyle to the maxillary arch. After that, you will place the incisal table and the lower arch is then mounted. Okay. So for a correct phase 4 transfer, as you see here, even if the interpupillary line in the first diagram, if it is tilted, or if the incisal plane is tilted, the phase 4 arms must be parallel to the horizon. Okay, as you see here, that is a correct phase 4 transfer when the arms are parallel to the horizon, right? Let's see, if you tilt, for example, you see here in the first figure that the occlusal plane is tilted. If you tilt the face bow arms to align parallel to the occlusal plane, you will get an erroneous recording, because when you transfer this to the articulator, as you see on the figure on the left side, you will see that the plane is aligned straight. Okay, in the patient's mouth that is tilted, but you have put it straight on the articulator. So the technician does not see the tilt and he cannot correct it. When he gives back the restorations are again tilted. So if you see in the figure below, the restorations are tilted, is because the face bow transfer is incorrect. So the face bow transfer has to be done such that when you view the models on the articulator, it has to be the same as you see it in the patient's mouth. So if there is a tilt, that has to be transferred to the articulator, right? As you see in this next figure here, what you see is a correct face bow transfer. You have a tilt to the incisal plane. That tilt has been transferred to the articulator. Okay, technician sees the tilt, he will correct it. Okay, once he has corrected it, you see in the figure below that the tilt has been corrected, so the restorations are now placed straight in the patient's mouth, right? So that is a correct face bow transfer. Now you would need to prepare your articulator prior to transferring the record from the face bow to the articulator. Many times this mistake is done that the condyle has not been locked on the articulator. You do the face bow transfer and then you realize that the upper member was actually moving. So you will need to repeat that. So before doing the transfer, please prepare your articulator for the transfer. It's a very simple thing to do. You're just going to lock in your condyles. You're going to put it at 30-degree horizontal condylar guidance angle, 15-degree Bennett angle. Lock the central locks so that there is no movement now. And then you will do the transfer. For the A7 fix, already the 30-degree and 15 degrees is fixed. You have to just press the central lock. So there is no movement of the upper arm when you are transferring the face bow record. Okay. So just prepare the articulators prior to transfer. The face bow that you have seen prior was the Elite face bow. With the Elite face bow, you have just a single tightening mechanism for both the transfer jig, the vertical as well as the horizontal distance. Okay, the face bow you see here is the professional face bow. This is the older version which I use. So with the professional face bow, you have to tighten the horizontal as well. You will see in the clinical case later. And when you transfer this to the articulator, you have a transfer jig present, as you see there, right? And then the cast is placed on it. There is an occlusal fork support placed. And what you're transferring is you're transferring the distance of the condyle to the maxillary arch with the help of a face bow transfer. Now, you have very nice accessories available with this articulator. One is the fork support. This is very good because when you're doing the face bow transfer, sometimes when you place the load of the maxillary cast on that occlusal fork, the cast tends to collapse. Okay, so to avoid that collapse, you have a fork which is supporting it from the bottom, so this does not collapse. You have a fork supporting it from the bottom, and you also have a toothless fork. A toothless fork is useful when you're doing it you're doing a face bow transfer for edentulous patients. Okay, when you're doing for edentulous patients, you also need to do centric relation on the same wax rim. So if you put the face bow fork on the bottom of the wax rim, it is difficult for you to do the centric relation with the same wax rim. So you have a toothless fork which engages the lateral part of that edentulous rim, right? As you see here in this patient. So this occlusal fork engages the lateral part of the rim. That is your face bow transfer. Onto the same rim, your centric relation record can also be done. Yes. And then that is the transfer to the articulator. Your maxillary cast is now mounted and your mandibular cast can be mounted against the same. So once that is done, you will then do whatever occlusal corrections that are needed. So that is when you do it for an edentulous patient. Now let me show you a case for 4 anterior crowns which have failed. Basically the endo has failed and these were 4 interconnected crowns. As you see in the post treatment, I have replaced them with all ceramic crowns. We'll see this case through as a video. So this is the previous bridge of the patient. And because the endo had failed and this bridge had come out, you can see that the teeth remaining have gross caries in them. So they needed a post and core built up. The endo was redone. Then the impressions made. And you have your definitive casts
with
here.
dies.
Okay. Your definitive cast with the dies are here.
The dies. Opposing arch cast of the lower arch. Temporization for upper anteriors. Temporary is made in cool temp. Static occlusion of the patient.
So those are the temporaries made. The static occlusion of the patient.
Applied onto the occlusal fork.
So let's see the phase 4 transfer for this patient. You must test
Or
how
test
hot
it.
it is if you're using green stick, because you don't want to burn
Whether
the
it is
patient.
hot before prior to placing into the mouth.
Or you could use bite registration addition silicone.
Fork centered
The fork has to be centered
to midline
to the midline.
and gently
This is very,
placed.
very important.
Even indentations.
See that the
obtained for the
indentations
upper
are
arch.
not excessive.
Cast placed onto the occlusal fork
And you
And
check for the
verified.
stability of the cast.
that there is no rocking. Phase 4 assembly consists of the U frame with the forehead pointer,
That is the transfer
an
jig.
anterior jig, and the occlusal fork.
Okay, so those are the parts of your phase 4. You will ask the patient to
Stabilized
stabilize the phase
by
4
the patient with the help of 2 thumbs on either side. Jig placed onto the U frame and tightened.
Then you will prepare your phase 4 frame. You will place the
As the
jig.
jig is inserted onto the occlusal fork, the earplugs are placed into the
So that has to
patient's
go
ear.
simultaneous. As you insert this, it has to go smoothly.
The U frame
First tighten the U
is
frame
then tightened
or the phase 4 frame. Then
and
tighten your
the
forehead
screw for the
pointer.
forehead pointer is also tightened. Forehead pointer is also tightened. Vertical
The vertical and the
horizontal
horizontal
screw
distances
tightened.
are then tightened. In the LE phase 4, you just have one clutch for this. So you don't need to do 2 screws, just a single screw and it would be tightened. Once this is done, when you disassemble it, you can just remove the lower part
Leave up. And removed.
right? That's it.
The U
So
frame
it's very simple. It takes very short amount of time
and the
to
U
do the
frame
entire phase 4 record. And now you will transfer this to the
Attached.
articulator.
onto the lower slot of the articulator.
You first need to attach the mounting jig to it, to the articulator.
Is then
Remove the
taken off.
incisal pin. Then the transfer that you've
And the
done from
phase
the
4
phase
jig.
4 is then placed onto it.
Placed onto the mounting jig. Onto the phase 4 jig.
And then the upper
And that
member rests
supports
on it.
the upper member of the articulator.
Now
is
you
then
don't want this
placed
occlusal fork to collapse
into the
when
jig
you're placing the plaster on it. So you
and
support
either
it with your
supported
hand.
with the lower hand prior to mounting.
You also
or
have
an
the occlusal fork support, remember? It's very
support
useful to
placed
use it here.
prior to mounting. Semi-adjustable articulator.
That's your upper arch mounted. So you have the distance of the condyle to the maxillary arch now recorded.
Cast. Mounted on the articulator.
Once the maxillary cast is
Lower
mounted,
cast
you mount the lower.
Mounted.
This is an intercuspal.
on semi-adjustable articulator with interocclusal record. Condylar path in protrusive fixed at 30° for this articulator.
So that's your maxillary and your mandibular arch
On upper
mounted.
definitive cast.
Those are your definitive cast with the definitive restorations now. These are all ceramic restorations, lithium disilicate, so they are bonded with a resin cement. And you can see the pleasing result and very good anterior guidance.
Briefly,
So for 4 anterior crowns, you should do it on a semi-adjustable articulator because you can check the anterior guidance. The
Taken
load
off
that is going to be
with the
coming on
floors.
these crowns can be checked prior to placing them in the patient's mouth. Right? So very pleasing final result. Good longevity for your restorations because you've checked your excursive, your protrusive, and your right and left lateral excursion. Okay, so the articulator comes with very good accessories. You have, as you see, the occlusal fork support. I mentioned to you, this is very, very good when you're doing your mounting. So the faceboard transfer that we've taken doesn't change. It will support the occlusal fork. Like I showed you, is supported with the hand. You can use occlusal fork support is the better method to support it. The next accessory that you see is this Fox plane. This is also very good when you're doing edentulous cases. You can check the parallelism of the rims to both the campus plane or to the Frankfurt plane. Okay? Or the interpupillary line when you're actually doing your edentulous rims. This is the Broderick flag, which you use when you're marking the occlusal plane, when you have to set an occlusal plane for rehabilitation. As all of you know, this, it has 2 pointers. The front is the canine distal part and the second molar, and at the intersection you will place this pointer and mark the occlusal plane. Any areas higher to that need reduction, lower to that need a built up. So it gives you whether the plane is correct. Okay, you also have a toothless fork as an accessory. As I told you, it engages on the lateral part of the edentulous rim. Okay, so you can still go ahead and take the centric transfer on the same. The next accessory you see is the incisal table. I'll show you a video of the custom incisal guide table. We can also use a custom guide table. This is a metallic incisal guide table. You will raise the wings according to the incisal guidance. Okay, we'll see a little later what the incisal guidance is. The incisal guidance is this angle form. So you can record that on the incisal table. These mounting plates are fabulous with the BioArt because they are magnetic, no screws needed. Plus it has a rail mounting system. You can just detach them without any screws. The rail mounting system makes it very simple to slide away the mounting once it is done, and by chance it's come off, you can place it back due to the rail mounting system. This magnetic mounting plate, sometimes the distance is very large. If you have to put it in a model scanner, it's too much. So if you want to shorten the distance, you can use these magnetic plates, which are also very helpful. You also have normal metallic plates for mounting. So it gives you a variety, and the mounting plates, what I like, is very cost effective from BioArt. So you can have multiple cases which are very, very cost effective. Sometimes you send it to the lab, they don't send it back. A very expensive accessory gone. So with the BioArt, because it's very cost effective, you don't need to worry so much even if you lose a few mounting plates. That's the campus plane.
If you're not doing a Facebook transfer, you could use the Camper's table to do the transfer for the maxillary arch. Okay, and the good thing about these articulators are they are standardized, so you shouldn't really be sending this articulator transported to the lab, then transported back. You can just keep your articulator in the clinic. You can just send the models which have been mounted to the laboratory, because these have been standardized. Because the articulators are standardized, you can just send the mounted cast to the laboratory and it will be exactly the same as you have mounted on your. So you just need to transfer the cast. You don't need to transfer the articulator. The articulator can stay with you. So because they are standardized, so laboratory should have another articulator, you have another articulator, and multiple cases you can just transfer between the two. Okay. Now mounting of the lower cast, this can be done either in intercuspal or in retruded contact position, depending upon the case. So let me show you two cases where in some case you would need a centric relation record or retruded contact position transfer, and in some cases where you would need an intercuspal transfer. Okay. So that is your elite phase 4, that is the transfer jig. I'll just repeat this. You have now transferred your maxillary cast. Right? Once your maxillary cast has been transferred, now you can mount the mandibular cast by placing a centric relation record like this, placing your lower cast and then mounting it. Or you can mount it in an intercuspal position depending on what the clinical situation needs. Right? So what is centric relation? First, we will go through intercuspal. Everybody knows maximum intercuspation is intercuspal. Okay. So if you have to keep the same position, you will transfer in intercuspal, which is maximum intercuspation. As you see here in the right side, the diagram that you see, this is maximum intercuspation. Okay. Now, what is centric relation? Centric relation is a relaxed, retruded position, or some say it as foremost, uppermost, or it's rearmost position, whatever it is a fully relaxed position of the condyle and the fossa, irrespective of the presence of teeth or the vertical dimension. It is a reproducible position. So it's a position of the condyles. Okay, and the condyles just by rotation open and close in the centric relation. So let's see an animation here of what centric relation is. If you see this, what you see is the condyle is only rotating to close here. Okay, so centric relation record, the condyle stays in the same place. You saw the terminal hinge closure. In that entire vertical dimension, it only rotated and then closed. Okay, so you have only rotation and then closure. So that is your centric relation position. So when you do not have teeth, like say a maxillary edentation is in a full mouth rehab, and you have to reconstruct it, or you have to change the vertical dimension. At that change, you don't know what is the intercuspal position. So you will do a centric relation record then. There's a centric relation record you could do either by bimanual palpations, which is the Dawson's technique, or you could use a leaf gauge, or you could use a Lucia jig like you see here. I have used a Lucia jig for transfer. And what I do with the Lucia jig is, this is the technique we were taught at King's, is to do an arrowhead tracing on that Lucia jig to make that position more reproducible. So you'll put articulating paper between the Lucia jig and the lower teeth, and you will ask the patient to do a retruded forward, move right lateral, move left lateral, and you will get an arrowhead tracing on that jig. Once you have received an arrowhead tracing and you ask the patient to close, at the end of the arrow, you will place your white registration wax at the back and record the centric relation position. Okay, so if you see this Lucia jig, you see the arrowhead tracing there. The patient does not have, the teeth should not be in contact during centric relation. Okay, so you're doing arrowhead tracing and you're taking a centric relation record. Now let's see areas where the centric relation record will be useful. Right? If you see this patient here, when you look at the left side, you see that the patient is completely worn. The dentition is completely worn. and the patient is biting edge to edge. Okay, so when he is biting edge to edge, what happens is that if I give the restorations at the same spot, edge to edge, there is no anterior guidance with my restorations. So I have no protection for my restorations. What the anterior guidance does is it discludes the posteriors. Okay, and in an ideal scheme, you should have shallow anterior disocclusion, disoccluding your posteriors, which will not be present if I restore at the same position. So if you see for this patient in the post treatment photograph, I have converted this patient from an edge to edge by taking a centric relation record. I have converted it so from a pseudo class 3 into a class 1. Okay, so I have taken a centric relation record and then done the restorations at an increased vertical at centric relation. Okay, so you do a centric relation record after your tooth preparations. So it's been mounted on the articulator, and those are then your definitive restorations, and that is your final result now in centric relation. Okay, now this is another case. In this case, you see that the intercuspal position is acceptable. The patient is having an intercuspal position, right? And you see tooth wear, but there is space to restore this wear. Okay, because there is space present, I will not change this to centric relation. I will use the same intercuspal position for this patient to restore this patient. Okay, so in this case, I will mount an intercuspal. That is the preoperative maxillary and mandibular. A mock-up has been done at the intercuspal position. Okay, so I have mounted the lower at intercuspal, done a mock-up at intercuspal, and then you see in this case I have done post and core built up. Tooth preparations have been done for this patient, and those are the prepared teeth. And those are the definitive restorations done at intercuspal position, right? This is another case if you have to increase the vertical dimension. It is much better to do this on the semi-adjustable articulator, because when you have taken the centric relation record, okay? So this is, let me show you, this is the maxillary, this is the mandibular, and this is the centric relation record. Now I have taken the centric relation record for this patient, and now I think that, okay, the space is too large or the space is too small and I need to increase the vertical or I need to decrease the vertical. If I have to do that, what I can do is, or if I've done the phase 4 record and transferred this to a semi-adjustable articulator, I can actually reduce or increase the space without affecting my occlusal scheme, because you have recorded the arc of closure. The arc of closure remains the same. So you can actually increase or decrease. You don't need to take a second record if you need lesser space or more space. With the same record, you can alter this on a semi-adjustable articulator, and that is why a semi-adjustable is useful. So this is when you need to increase or decrease the vertical dimension, the space that you get, you can do it on a semi-adjustable. Okay, so I have increased the vertical dimension, done a mock-up for this patient, and this is another brilliant technique to do. For this tooth wear, I have done no reduction. Okay, that means there is I haven't cut back any of the want teeth. I have just built them up by an additive technique. So this has been done in direct composite at an increased vertical, right? So this is the mock-up of the patient. I have then transferred it. I have done direct composite build-ups. So this is from the patient, from the mock-up, a direct composite build-up done at the desired occlusal scale. So this is tooth wear. This is treated with a non-reduction technique with an additive. That is the occlusal view of the arch, and this is the occlusal view of the mandibular arch. Now, another full mouth rehab case. This is the pre of the patient. The maxillary teeth were extracted, formers placed, and the phase 4 transfer, when you do it for implant patient, you don't want a moving rim. So you can actually have on temporary abutments, you can have a jig created, which you can use for your phaseboard transfer. So if you see here, I've done a phaseboard transfer with the help of this jig for this patient. Okay. And I have then transferred the maxillary arch to the articulator. Then done a centric relation record again with the help of the jig. So I have a stable base. So it's a very accurate transfer. Despite that, when you get your coping trial, you must do a verification record. Okay. So what is the verification record is that how it is in the mouth. You have to check whether it is the same on the articulator. And this is not just visual checking. You will place an interocclusal record for verification, and you will place this on the articulator and verify that it is exactly the same space that you have in the mouth as you have on the articulator. Then when you proceed for your BISC trial, you will have absolutely no alterations to be done. At the BISC stage, this is the static. When you check in excursive, this is an idealized occlusal scheme which you want for your full mouth rehab. That means there is even anterior guidance. All the anterior teeth are coming forward evenly. Okay, this is because you were able to do this on the semi-adjustable. You could have checked protrusive on the semi-adjustable. You could have checked your excursives on the semi-adjustable. So you have a set even anterior guidance. In right lateral, you have canine guidance and you have very small posterior disocclusion. So if you see, the amount of posterior disocclusion is very shallow, right? So you have shallow anterior guidance, even anterior guidance, shallow posterior disocclusion. You have canine guidance in excursive. Anterior, you have even guidance. So you've given an optimized occlusal scheme for this patient. That is after glaze. So still at this trial, I will check if any small alterations need to be done. So I do not need to do any major alterations when the work comes back. The final work is just then fitted in the patient mouth. And this is so satisfying. So you should see to it that you come to a stage where you do not need to grind in your restorations. If you take the effort to do a very good transfer, to take accurate occlusal records, you come to a stage where you know, the restorations just fit in the patient's mouth. Now, arrangement for your complete dentures, again, semi-adjustable, very, very useful. If you see, this is balanced articulation. What is balanced articulation? In the intercuspal position, as you see, the top image, the teeth are intercuspating. When the patient moves forward and protrusive, you still have simultaneous even contacts and protrusive. And you still have simultaneous even contacts in excursive. Okay.
Sorry, Doc, you have 5 minutes left.
Yes, we have finished. We are at the end of the presentation.
Yes, thank you, Doc.
So that is for your edentulous. You have simultaneous even contacts in static as well as in excursive. Now we come to what is anterior guidance. Anterior guidance is the overjet and the overlap of the patient. Okay. So if you see, the overjet determines the amount of cuspal inclination. Greater the overjet, lesser is the guidance. Greater the overlap, greater is the guidance. Okay. So on the semi-adjustable articulator, you can actually copy the patient's incisal guidance, or like I've done here on the incisal guide table. Okay, so as this is moved, you have copied the original guidance, and then you have made, these are my temporary restorations. The temporary restorations have been done at exactly the same incisal guidance. So you can make an incisal guide table with the articulator to copy what is the patient's original guidance. If you just start doing the preparations without copying original guidance, you've lost the guidance altogether. There are situations where you wouldn't want to copy it, like in a patient like this, where all failed restorations, lot of decay below the crowns. And if you have a look in this patient, really only one tooth is touching in protrusive. So you don't want to copy this guidance. So you have done a phaseboard transfer, altered the patient's guidance, and here you have on the articulator an even guidance now, even anterior guidance. In protrusive, when the patient gets the teeth forward, the anterior guidance is even. Okay. So thank you. Thank you for your attention, and any queries, you can contact me. I'll be happy to answer any questions if any of you have. If we have the time, we could do a few question answers. Doc, do we have the time?
Yes, Doc. We have a time, Doc, for discussion section.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Madhavi, for the outstanding presentation. Okay, for the audience want to ask a question, you can type in the chat room. And also you can raise your hand to speak directly to the speakers. Okay, Dr. Madhavi, we have a question in the chat room from Dr. Risco. Thank you, Doctor, for your very interesting presentation. There is one thing that I'm curious. When should we use Chambers line or Frankfurt line as a guide when we use the Facebook transfer? Thank you, Doc.
When you're doing an aesthetic case, you would want the alignment of the incisal for the technician to see as it is in the patient. So if you do a campus plane transfer, it's a parallel plane which you will get on the articulator. If there is a tilt, the technician will be able to see the tilt. So if you're doing an anterior aesthetic case, I would recommend you to go ahead with a campus plane transfer. If they are more, it's a posterior bridge, you could go ahead with a Frankfurt plane transfer. Frankfurt plane transfer is more accurate actually from an occlusal viewpoint. But a campus plane transfer for aesthetics is much better because it gives the technician a view of the patient like you see the patient. It's a parallel view. So for aesthetic cases, I would recommend you to go ahead with a campus plane transfer.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Madhavi. Dr. Risco, is it clear enough? Yeah, because all of some picture in your presentation, like anterior tilt when you mount it in the articulators, Doc, that one you use Frankfurt line as it is, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, for the other participant, do you have a question? Okay, while waiting the question, Doc, maybe I want to, this one. From Dr. L. Lorenzon, Doc, is there any guide to mount in FHP, Doc?
Is there any?
Is there any guide to mount in FHP?
How do you mount in with the Frankfurt plane, you mean? See, the infraorbital pointer, which you have on your face bow, when you point it to the infraorbital and to the external, if your face bow arm is parallel to the Frankfurt plane, you have done a Frankfurt plane transfer. If you want to do a campus plane transfer, you will need to place the face bow arm from the nose vein to the external auditory meanders. Actually, it is a very small arrangement change. The face bow arms, if you keep them here, they are parallel to the FHP. If you keep them here, they will be parallel to the campus plane. So you could put the pointer that you have at the nose wing, you will have a campus plane transfer. If you put it at the infraorbital, you will have a Frankfurt plane transfer.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Madhavi. Dr. Lorenzon, is it clear? Yeah. Okay, for the other participant, we have 2 minutes left. Any other questions? Okay, no one? Okay, for the last question, Dr. Madhavi, I have a question, Doc. From your presentation, in the third part of the accessories, I'm a little bit confused, Doc. Can you explain more the accessories when you explain the third one, Doc?
The Broderick flag.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Broderick flag. The Broderick flag, actually, I explained it very shortly. You need to no, it's an occlusal plane analyzer. So you know whether the curve of P is very steep for that case or whether it is very shallow. If you have to analyze the occlusal plane before you do a built-up, you know, you could do that with a Broderick flag. Now the Broderick flag, what it does is it uses the Monson's theory. Really, you need to. It's a little theory-based thing. So on the Monson's theory, you have a 4 centimeter radius, okay, from the distal of the canine to the second molar, the anterior part, right? So what they do is you do an intersection. If you saw 2 arcs on the top, one was intersecting from the distal of the canine and was intersecting from the mesial of the second molar. Okay, so from there you will draw an arc at the bottom now, which is of a 4 centimeter radius, and that will give you basically the occlusal plane. So if you have some teeth going above that plane, okay, or some teeth going below that plane, it means the ones that are above need to be reduced to come into the ideal plane. Okay, it's a theory which puts like a lot of figures into the analysis. So it's actually a concept which, you know, that 4 centimeter radius is the ideal occlusal plane. That theory can also be conflicted, that, you know, can all the patients fit in the same theory. The Broderick flag, which the BioArt uses, is more customized for that patient. So it will allow you to make that occlusal plane analyzer. Basically, what it allows you to do is make an occlusal plane analyzer where you know that the curve of P, whether it is excessively steep or it is shallow, and do you need to do any change to it.
Yes,
right?
okay.
So you have that you have the intersecting the tool available to mark it.
Yeah, Doc. It's very clear explanation, Doc. Thank you, Doc. Okay, Dr. Madhavi, because the time is up, so we have reached the end of this section, Doc. But before I close this section, I would like to read some of the presentation. So semi-adjustable articulator can duplicate the temporomandibular joint movement precisely, so it can help us as a clinical practice to manage the treatment in patient, especially in the complex mouth rehabilitation. Okay, once again, thank you, Dr. Madhavi, for the interesting presentation, and I give the time back to the MC, Dr. Ratna.
Thank you, Dr. Dimas.
Thank you.
Okay. May I request Dr. Anda Rizkyawan, Dr. Gigi, PhD, Specialist Bedah Mulut and Maxillofacial, to give certificate as an appreciation to our first speaker today, Dr. Madhavi Mapuskar, BDS and Clinton. Please, Dr. Andra.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Ratna. To Dr. Madhavi, I would like to say thank you very much for your nice and interesting presentation. In this session, I would like to give the certificate for appreciation to joining as a presenter in the STOFIT Online Series 2021. To Dr. Madhavi, thank you very much. And I will wait you offline in Surabaya, Indonesia. Thank you very much, Dr. Madhavi.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. And yeah, thank you for the lovely coordination. Thank you, Dr. Dimas, for being a very good moderator. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Madhavi, for your time. See you next time, Dr. Madhavi. And once again, thank you, BioArt as a principal, Meditrust and Falk as BioArt distributor in Indonesia for bringing Dr. Madhavi here today. Thank you, Dr. Madhavi. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we come to the third session. We have Dr. Gigi Elman Lorenzon. He is a smile director at Natura Dentica Dental Studio and trainer at IFO Clarivivaden. He will talk about clinical procedure for using Stratos 300. Also, we would like to thank M3i and IFO Clarivivaden for this session. And this session will be moderated once again with Dr. Dimas. Dr. Dimas, please, time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Ratna. Because of this section,